Welcome to the Flourish with Dr. B podcast, where we inspire people to flourish in mind, body, and spirit. And can you believe it? We're in July already?
Where does the time go?
I don't know. So today we're going to talk a little bit about what we have in store for you in July. We're really excited. And we have a couple of guest speakers that will help us flesh out this topic. And the topic is making connections, right? Our two guest speakers that are going to be coming up in the month of July are going to talk about networking, communication, um, more in a business realm or a professional realm. And Ben and I are going to come in and jump in about the personal part, interpersonal relationships, interpersonal communication. We're not experts, but in our 33 years together, I think, and raising two adult men, we have some tips that have helped us, and they may help you, they may not, but we just want to share some of that with you. So,
Yeah, well, I guess it always comes down to communication, right? Um, we think that whether it's business or personal related, communication is the key to successful relationships.
right,
And really, I think that it starts with, well, you always talk about the Slavonization of America.
right. Well,
So, which is part communication, part just staying connected with people. So that's a starting place,
yeah,
right?
I wanted to actually, so I used to watch Project Runway a lot, and I love Tim Gunn. I think that he is amazing. And he came up with a term. Oh no, was it Tim Gunn? Maybe it was, or was it on maybe it was Tim Gunn, but or it was on What Not to Wear.
Mm.
Maybe he was a guest on there. I don't know. But they were talking about the Slavonization of America in terms of clothing. I don't think it was Tim Gunn, actually. I think it was I forgot his name, but
Stacy and the other guy.
yeah, it'll come
Sorry, other
back.
guy.
It'll come back to me in menopause brain. Anyway, I'm like Peyton, Liam, I can't remember. They were looking at videos um of people, just how they're dressed, the people that they're going to transform and fashionably rehabilitate. And he talked about what is it with the Slavonization of America? And Ben and I always love that term, not only for fashion, but also like relationships and communication. There's so many unanswered texts, emails, phone calls. People don't RSVP anymore. I think it's okay if it's like a backyard barbecue and a party in a house, but when people need to have like a head count, I help a lot of people with events, even weddings, bridal showers, baby showers, big milestone birthday parties where they're having it in at an event. People don't even RSVP. Even when they go out and call these people and are like, "Are you coming or not?" Like still nothing. Like, just think it's really strange how we've fallen apart in that communication. We became slobs in communication, and Ben's a communication major, and I um I really had pride. I pride myself on teaching families to really communicate with each other because I think that's what makes a family strong. In my pediatric years when I was a clinician, I did talk about that a lot, that, parents and kids should have open dialogue and talk to each other. Um, so we're big proponents of that.
Yeah, and I want to make sure, like, we're not just sitting here trying to just complain about it. Like, there should not be a generational term that's called ghosting. There's a
Yeah,
reason why
yeah,
that term didn't exist when we were growing up. Because, yes, of course it existed without that term, but so much less. It's become such a thing
right.
that there's a term for it now. And that's I don't know. It just makes zero sense. And as that started becoming a term, we were trying to teach our kids when they were younger who were starting to ghost us.
Yeah.
No, 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 no. You're not going to ghost our text. So we're not going to ghost us when we're asking where you are. Or you're not going
Right.
to ghost us when, that's it's not happening. That's literally there's like a lack of respect
Right.
for
Right.
the relationship
For the other human
and the
being.
other human being.
And actually, when you were saying that, it also comes up in like resumes, things that you handed, or not even resumes, applying for jobs that they don't even say acknowledge that they've accepted anything from you, let alone be like, oh yeah, we found somebody else. Once in a while you'll get that. And I remember my mom, she's a retired physician, but she was applying for this job within the city senior center or whatever. She took the civil service test, she passed it, the whole thing. She applied, she redid her resume, everything. And she was just shocked that they didn't even acknowledge that A, they received it, and B, that they found somebody else. She's like, they didn't even give me the courtesy to say they found somebody else. I'm like, that's the way it is. I mean, her generation and above is, I don't know, it's like the greatest generation or the silent generation, I forget, but they were not silent. Those people, when I have events, they're the first ones to RSVP. They're the first ones to show up early. They're the first ones to ask if they could bring something. And they're first ones to call me or text me or write to me or email me afterwards saying, what a wonderful time we had,
Yeah.
and I think we've lost that as a society a little bit, at least in America.
And I have to say, to that point, I think there's a real correlation to the fact that that generation was amongst the best in terms of customer service,
Mm-hmm.
in terms of business,
Mm-hmm.
and whether it's retail or otherwise. And oh, by the way, that is something that is so lost
Yes.
today
Yes.
also.
Yes.
We can walk into a store and they either don't greet you or whatever it might be, like just anything that
Yes.
that requires customer service. People are not smiling.
Mm-hmm.
They're not acknowledging you, which is another topic. And I mean, it's really it's kind of like a sad state of
Yeah.
affairs.
I think it also has to do with, I mean, pulling on my sociology degree. But when I remember one of my sociology teachers in college said, when we become more advanced in technology, we become less connected. And I think with everything, the dot-com boom, social media boom, all this stuff, A, we're overstimulated, and B, we assume that everybody knows what we're doing because we post everything on social media, at least some of us do. And I think that that's also a part, whereas growing up in the 70s, even the 80s and earlier, we didn't have a lot of this technology. So we had to actually pick up the phone and talk to people or go to their house. I mean, I remember in the 70s, we would get a doorbell would ring and my parents would answer it and there would be a neighbor and they would welcome him in and they'd stay and talk for hours um and while like my mom's cooking or cleaning or something, it was like natural. Nowadays the doorbell rings and I hide. I don't answer it unless I know who's coming. Same thing with the phone. Like there's just so many distractions that if I pick up every phone call at that time, I will never get anything done that day because of all the dings and the whistles and the bells and the
So it's like through
notifications.
technology, there's over communication,
Right.
and yet we're more disconnected than we've ever
Correct.
been,
Yes.
especially on an emotional and really emotionally connected level.
Right.
And that's
Right.
so true. I think
Right.
I think you're absolutely right about that. And so that's one of the great things about the guests that we'll have on this month is
Yes.
that they sort of help people navigate that on a business level
Yes.
so that, because there's a lot of times where people should be doing business together, but they're not giving each other the time of day for some of the reasons that
Hmm.
Belinda just said. So then there's actually a lost opportunity there.
Right.
Because we're also jaded and inundated by sales
Right.
pitches or phone calls or
Right. Right.
emails or texts.
Pitches and
Right.
just
But the
people
reality
just
is because now that we've like, I'd say I'm not taking any calls or emails or texts, we actually miss out on the opportunities that actually some people that we can benefit each other. So anyway, so the folks that we're going to have on are going to talk a little bit about that,
right.
how to navigate that, which is
Good.
really a cool topic,
Right.
but it also plays into our personal lives as well. So I know Belinda's digging through some notes right now.
Yeah, sorry, I'm making so much noise, but
All
for the
good.
people that are not on YouTube, I'm making a lot of noise. I'm moving around a lot. But we're gonna just introduce a concept called acknowledgement. And it's something that we learned in a leadership intensive that we've had years ago, that we went to years ago. And also we're overlapping it with something else that another mentor and coach has taught us, which is called fair fighting. Okay. So acknowledgement is just the basic, you acknowledge something, not like acknowledge, like I acknowledge that you did well on this event. And that's great too, but acknowledging the funkiness as well. I think a lot of people don't do this. And even if it's something like, you know, in a workplace, I feel that, this is an acknowledgement instead of just ghosting the person or just letting it go aside. I feel that something I said maybe irked you, and I apologize. It didn't come out that, I didn't mean to, for it to come off that way, but I just wanted to share that with you. The other person doesn't have to say anything, and you don't have to apologize actually, but just the acknowledgement of that quote unquote negative thing is something we don't do. Or or let's say somebody's late and you're on a tight schedule. Um, is sometimes the toxic positivity of, oh, don't worry about it, it's okay, we get it. That's fine if you're sincere about it. But if you're really on a tight schedule and this is going to mess you up, you can say, I see you're running late. Is there a way we could just reschedule, because I just don't have the time to now that to devote entirely to what we needed to talk about, or something like that. That's a form of acknowledgement that I think our society on the whole has completely thrown out the window. And that's where the ghosting comes in, because people feel uncomfortable. They don't want to say anything. They don't want to ruffle feathers. So they kind of just ghost you, or they
Which
stand you
also,
up.
I'm sorry to cut you off, which also I believe feeds into a lot of passive aggressive behavior.
Yes.
It's sort of a subsequent result.
Yes. Yes. People just, for fear of insulting you, but they still want to make sure that you got the message. They will do something like, oh, it's okay, and then never talk to you again, or something like, oh, yeah, no worries, and then not reset a date or not reconnect, or
And in a way, then that's not acknowledgement on their part.
right,
So, yeah.
right. So, the reason why I'm making a lot of noise is that, for those of you that can't see me, I'm drawing something, and this is something that I do in a lot of my workshops. I, I write, okay, this is not
You got to pull it back,
back to here.
further back, and put it in the middle. Take it away from, put it in front of your face and let it focus on there.
This is,
Okay, this is not going to work here.
this is not going to work here. Okay, maybe this will be good for the blooper reel.
Yeah. Oh, there it was.
Oh, right here.
Oh, there you go. See that? Oh, there you go.
Okay,
Okay, so you
so,
ended a certain way. Okay. You can straighten it, but you have to, let me see if I can.
it's this one. Okay, so number 6, or it could be a number 9, right? So if I'm not going to do this right now, lay it flat, but from my vantage point,
So Belinda's on one side of the number and I'm
right.
on the other side of the number.
And from my vantage point, although you can't see it on this thing because I look at it as a 6.
And from when my vantage point on the other side of it, I see it and it's a 9.
And so
So
who's right?
guess who's right?
And definitely neither of us, because this is not showing one thing, but
But
you get
yeah.
the picture.
Yeah, the picture is that we're both
We're
right. For
both
her,
right.
it's a 6. For me, it's a 9. It's undeniable.
There's nobody that's more right, no
Right.
more wrong, or whatever. So that's a hard pill to swallow. I admit I'm not good at this. um, I'm very black or white. It's this or that. It can't be both. But I'm learning to not do that. And like we said, that comes in handy, obviously, on a professional level, right? When you're maybe at odds with somebody at work or organization or business or client, but trying to see it from their vantage point has always been something we've always been taught, right? Like walk a mile in somebody else's shoes before you criticize. And it works really well in relationships. And that's where we use the concept of fair fighting. Um, like I said, our mentor, we had a mentor, Keith Kochner, brilliant man. He introduced this concept to us, and it's basically rounds of fighting. It's not really fighting. It's just airing your grievances to the other person. He basically said that when he and his wife do it, it's they go, okay, let's get it on, or something like that. Like we need, instead of we need to talk or whatever. I don't know if we have anything like that. Just I think we just kind of, okay, I need to tell you something kind of
Right.
thing.
It's a little bit different than the airing of grievances in the Festivus episode of Seinfeld, which is a little more frank, just screaming the grievances. But anyway, yes.
No. But so I'll just be like, okay, listen, when you did this, I felt this. Okay, not you made me angry and you made me do and you made me mess up. When this happened, it made me feel like this. So that's an acknowledgement. And the reason why it's like rounds, like you let the person talk without interrupting that person for about whatever, 5 minutes or whatever, then the next person gets a chance.
And if I can interrupt for a second, I
Yes.
also think, and I don't know if this came from Keith or if it's a Tony Robbins or somebody else, but we don't want to use the words "it made me" or "you made me." Only we allow things
Right,
to
correct.
affect us in certain ways. So instead of saying, sort of Belinda just said, when you did this, it made me do this, or you made me feel this. Maybe the other way. So when you did
Did this,
this,
I
I
felt,
felt
right, right.
this.
I
Just,
don't know
just
what I
want to
said.
put that out there.
I think I
Instead
got
of
it
saying
wrong.
it made
Yeah,
me. So
right.
I just wanted to make a little acknowledgement and clarification.
So yes, so Tony Robbins does do that, but when we first learned it, we didn't even use those words. I don't know.
Yeah. But
But
getting back to Keith and
right,
what you were talking about.
right. I think this is a mishmash of
Mhm,
what we learned in leadership, Keith
mhm, mhm,
and Tony Robbins.
mhm.
So it's the Ben and Belinda way we do these things.
And if it's Tony Robbins, then it's really part of Jim Rohn as well.
Right,
So
right.
anyway,
So, um, you know, when you were late this morning, Ben, I felt stressed out and not heard, blah, blah, blah. And then he will say,
I might say I really and I want to acknowledge what she just told me about the way she felt. So I might say, okay, I understand that you felt that way. And, I might say, I wish it didn't make you feel that way. However, the reason I was late was because of X, 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 and X. And I don't want to be defensive when I put
right,
it out there, but I want to simply say, here's the 9 to that 6.
right,
Here's the reverse side of why,
right.
even though what you said was right, I was late. But if you understood, maybe now when I explain that, that may or may not be good enough for Belinda to say, okay, I get it. Let's move on. And if it's not to the point where it's okay, let's move on, Belinda would say,
So now we're into round two. I
right.
wouldn't say that, but
No, you wouldn't.
okay, I get it. And we're always late though.
And I would say, I might say something like, you're right, even though that was at one instance, I do seem to make a habit out of this. So what can I do to change that about myself? I could work on that. Something along
Yeah.
those lines.
And of course, this is very like calm and
Right, we're being
not real
generic,
and
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
genetic. I mean,
But
it gets heated. It
right,
gets
it
heated.
gets heated, but when we're doing fair fighting, we're also acknowledging that it's fair fighting. We're trying not to raise our voices
Right.
and trying not to.
Try not to curse.
Right,
Try not to raise our voice.
right.
Or try not to talk over each other.
Or throw flip-flops at each other but
Or interrupting. The whole point is not to interrupt each other, basically.
that's the main thing.
And the whole point is also to just hear each other out. And usually, I think it was Tony Robbins who said this, I'm not sure. After the third time around, like people just stop fighting or stop going back and forth. It's just they wanted to be heard. They wanted to have their emotions heard and acknowledged, and to feel significant, to feel that um, they've been properly attended to, I guess.
Yeah, and what's really beautiful about the process when you can do it, and it's much easier said than done, is that that feeling of wanting to be defensive lowers and lowers
Yes.
each
Yeah.
round because now you really are, you're getting the opportunity to explain yourself, but you're also making that other pe person feel heard.
Right.
And as that happens for each other, it's less about becoming defensive.
Right.
And I just want to throw this in if we're going to wrap this topic up
Yeah.
now. And Belinda doesn't know I'm going to throw this in, but last night we just happened to be talking with one of our sons and his girlfriend, and they were talking about when they would fight when they were in college together, and they would have some really heated fights. And then when they did, they had this rule where they had to dance. They had to do a dance move whenever they were explaining their
Their
point,
side.
their side of the story. So they were like really aggressive dance moves while they were shouting at each other. But I think within a few rounds, if you will, they wound up just laughing.
Oh, I love it. Yeah,
And
it
it was
was
really
good.
funny when they explained it. It was something we hadn't heard of,
I'm like,
and
we need to do
we
that.
need to try that one. Not that we ever fight, but
Never.
anyway.
So yeah, we just want to put that out there. We didn't want it to be anything political or religious or anything that's, taking sides or anything. I think that we just have lost the ability to listen to each other and to acknowledge that there might be a different vantage point than what we're saying. When we are off the podcast and we're out on our daily, this is very hard. Okay. I'm not saying that this is something that, oh yes, I can do this so easily. We're all human. It's hard. It happens everywhere. It happens, not just in the workplace or in, family relations. It happens in the church, in schools, in obviously our families. So, it's just, we're not, as I always say with everything, we're not looking for perfection, just looking for progression.
And I just want to add before we wrap up, you just said such a key word, which was like listening to each other. We told you at the beginning, this month, this episode is about communication. And I have to say that yes, you said I was a major in community. I majored in communications in college, and a huge part of the communications that I studied, whether it was marketing, whether it was production, it was always sort of about persuading other people, sort of enrolling them in what you want them to be enrolled in, or persuading them to act or do or say the things that you would want. And what Belinda just said is the biggest missing piece, perhaps, in the human condition, which is the listening. Wouldn't there be less war, less divorce, less conflict if we listened to each other more? And I'm saying this because I really want to acknowledge Belinda for this. When I came into our marriage, to our relationship, I was not a good listener. And I'm still working on it 33 plus years later. I'm still working on it, but I'm a lot better at it. And I've learned that that's like the whole other face to communication and making communication work. So I thank you for that. And I acknowledge you for that. And I think that like if there's a takeaway for our listeners or viewers, like for me, that's my biggest flourish flash or aha moment, as we call it. So if I could jump in and ask our audience,
Well, before we say that,
yeah.
I just want to add that I have another mentor, Rita Davenport, who used to say all the time, God gave us two ears and one mouth for a reason, because we're supposed to listen twice as much as we talk. I don't know if she may not have said that originally, but she definitely was one of her top 10 things that she would say on a regular basis. And I think also just in terms of, and the topic for another discussion, but in terms of our upbringing, um, like I always had to listen to everybody's needs as a physician as well, um, and not clap back with something right away, although I still do that. I'm not saying I don't. I think that's something that I had brought to the table through the relationship, and Ben had brought his persuasion, thing to the relationship. So we really had to work on this, and this has helped us, obviously. I'm not saying that it's a big fairy tale. I always say it's sometimes it's a fairy tale, sometimes it's a fiery tale, but it has been one of our tools in our toolbox for communication. And we pass it on to our kids too, which I think that they use as well, whether it's us or their significant others. So, yes, go ahead with our flourish flash.
Well, so that's another great flourish flash that you just said. So, for those of you new to the podcast, and for those of you who are not, you may know a flourish flash is your biggest aha moment. And so we're wondering, those were some of my flourish flashes from this episode. Did you have a flourish flash from this episode?
I just think in general, the whole it's just so pervasive, the ghosting, like I didn't even think about the ghosting, but that is definitely the whole communication breakdown.
Yeah.
And I would love to see that, whether we start in our own families or just as a whole, to just reverse that. And you know but yeah, that would be my first flash. It
Yeah.
just, yeah, ghosting that has to stop.
That has to stop. Yeah.
It has to be curtailed at least.
Yeah, we got to roast the ghost. Oh, poor thing. I'm embarrassing her
Oh
all
my
the time.
gosh.
Well, so what was your flourish flash?
Yeah.
If you guys have any out there, we'd love to see what those are. Send us a direct message. Put it in the comments. Put it on your own social media pages. We'd love to know what was your flourish flash from this. Try to say that 10 times fast. Flourish flash from this episode.
Oh, that was it. Definitely was a tongue twister.
Uh,
And yes, please follow us, like us, share episodes with people. Um, not just because, hey, yeah, we want to increase our listenership, but these things may help some people, and that's why we do this, to help people flourish, right? So don't fly off without seeing the show notes. We have all the information about both of us there, and if there's any speaking engagements or things where you want me or Ben or both of us to talk at, we're more than happy to visit that and see if it's a good fit for your organization. And
well, thank you, Dr. B, and thanks
thank
to
you,
all of you
Ben.
for joining us. And until next time in the Hive.
Be kind and flourish fully.